The old manor stood silhouetted against the bruised twilight sky, its gables clawing at the clouds. Inside, Lucian, a vampire of centuries, paced his library, the flickering candlelight painting shadows that danced with the dust motes. He wasn't restless from hunger. His bloodlust was a controlled simmer, a background hum to his existence. No, his unease stemmed from Alara, his fledgling. She was different, more human. He'd chosen her carefully, a young artist with a spirit that burned brighter than any he'd encountered. He'd hoped her creativity would balance his ancient weariness, but lately, her paintings had become disturbingly vivid depictions of his own internal struggles, a reflection of a soul he hadn't realized existed. Lucian found her in the conservatory, her fingers stained with crimson from crushed berries, the canvas before her a swirl of dark and light. He watched, his ancient heart strangely moved. "Ilara," he said, his voice a low murmur that carried across the room. She didn't flinch, didn't startle. She simply turned, her eyes, the same shade as the twilight sky, meeting his. "My lord," she replied, her voice soft, but with an undercurrent of steel. He saw it then, in her eyes. Not fear, but understanding, a disturbing familiarity with the darkness that dwelled within him. "Your paintings, they unsettle me," he confessed, his voice barely a whisper. She smiled, a sad, knowing smile. "They are not merely paintings, Lucian. They are reflections of your soul, the parts you've tried to bury for centuries. The artist sees more than most." He stepped closer, the scent of her blood, sweet and intoxicating, filling his senses. He felt the ancient urge, the primal need, but hesitated. He was captivated by her insight, her fearless gaze, her ability to see past his carefully constructed facade. He spent the next few nights watching her paint, not as her master, but as a student, learning from her observations, her interpretations of his own hidden emotions. He saw the humanity he'd suppressed, the capacity for love and loss, the regret that gnawed at him. He'd craved immortality, but it had become a cage, isolating him from the very essence of life. Alara, his creation, was showing him a way out, a path to redemption, not through annihilation, but through understanding and acceptance of his own complex nature. One morning, the sun streamed through the conservatory windows, illuminating Alara's latest painting, a portrait of Lucian, not as a menacing vampire, but as a weary man, his eyes filled with a haunting sorrow. It was a masterpiece, a profound revelation. He realized then that his existence wasn't just about survival, but about finding meaning in the endless night. He had found that meaning in Alara, his fledgling, his reflection, and his guide to a future he never thought possible.